I am ready. I mean, like,
Bang. Just like that, cut you off with the intro.
up.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to The Collective. We have an awesome show for you this morning. It's going to be an early morning. And look at this. We got somebody already waiting. Morning.
Good morning.
What's up? Yeah, I was waiting for you to talk. I was like, come on.
Well
I
done.
kicked it in there. So, good to go. We got some questions from the interwebs today, and before I get into anywhere, before I do anything else, I want to make sure to let everybody know to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and you get your email every morning saying, "Hey, the boys are talking." So here we are talking, not just the boys, but
Sounding good on the mic, by the way.
the boys. Well, thank you. I adjusted my mic stand
There's
first.
something adjusted.
These,
Yeah.
it's nice when things work out properly.
Noted.
Well, so yeah, any thoughts before we jump into? We got a couple of questions and then some general thoughts and stuff. But
Only
anything?
thought I have is you and I need to cord on when we're going to be doing our lives while I'm out in Ottawa. So, as an example, tomorrow, Thursday, I should be able to do the regular 1100 hours timing because that is 2 o'clock in the afternoon Thursday. But Friday and Saturday will be nuked by, it'll be all out of my
Stuff.
control.
Yep.
So, once I'm there on Thursday, I'll be able to figure out a little bit about Friday. But I don't know. Maybe we might have to go like earlier
I'm good with that.
on a live, if that's okay.
Yep.
We'll figure it out
For sure.
but there'll be
I'm
some
good.
adjustments.
I'm pretty open. My mornings I keep mostly open, and usually the kids are in school, but now they're on spring break, so
Oh,
they're
are they?
reading books
Okay.
and
Okay.
hanging out, playing games, Lego, all that good stuff. So but yeah, I'm
I
good.
I have the same plan. I tell everyone, like, if I've got an appointment, it doesn't matter, medical or whatever, acupuncture, osteopath, doesn't matter. Everyone knows in my world, leave me alone in the mornings. My mornings are mine. I have things to do, etc.
Yes, indeed. We actually, me and the boys are going to go to Canadian Tire and get bikes, or
Oh,
a bike for
how
the.
exciting!
Arden needs a new bike because he has outgrown his by a lot, and
Yeah.
they're tall boys. So what can I say? So,
Dude, I just saw a photo that popped into my OneDrive reminder, and it was precisely this: my buying 2 new bikes for our boys like 12 years ago, and they're both leaning over top of their bikes. They're little red giants, and the mechanic who was helping set them up, who I knew really well, his name was Alex. He's actually got his elbow on one of the kids' heads, and he's just standing there because they're so short, right? And it's fun, man. Buying it should be an exciting moment for a kid, and so don't make it all business. Don't make it all about fit and cost and whatever. Like, find a way to get
get them hyped.
Get them excited.
Yeah.
Make it all about them.
Yeah, the Arden has his last bike. I was just measuring it. It's a 16-inch frame, and we measured him. We actually took him there this morning just to kind of measure stuff up, and he fits a 24.
Yeah, I was going to recommend a 24.
He's pretty big, and so
Yeah.
now that's where he is. And then Kinley was riding a 12-inch, and he's going to be moving up to Arden 16. So
Yeah, it makes sense.
We realized, I was thinking about it the other day, or actually this morning, was the fact that they grow up so fast, like physically, but you rarely see it because it's such a continual progression, right? I see them
Oh,
every
no,
day.
I saw it every time I had to buy new skis or new bikes or new whatever.
Oh yeah, yeah.
The wallet knew every time.
Luckily, Canadian Tire, and Winter Storm says getting a bike from Canadian Tire is a Canadian tradition.
Yeah, it kind of is.
100%.
Well, that and a wooden toboggan. Come on, let's not get it twisted.
You have any idea how expensive those things are now?
I don't.
They're crazy. They're
Are
in the
they?
hundreds of dollars
Or are
for
they?
the wooden sleds. It's
And
ridiculous.
but are they legit wooden sleds? Like, are they legit? Like they're like the old school legit, or
they're built that way, but I don't know if I would
yeah.
put them in the same.
That's why I asked the question. Yeah.
Yeah, I think perhaps it is less than it used to be. Less
So
effective.
I got a question for you. I know
Sure.
we're already derailed, so let's
Right?
just get after it. So, my toboggans, I had 2 favorite toboggans when I was a kid, and so when I moved to Grande Cache when I was 10 years old from England, of course, snow was a newish thing,
Mhm.
but I embraced it pretty hard, and I was out in it all the time, and so my 2 favorite toboggans were the one that you just described, the old schoolie with the curved nose, the long wooden one. I kinda like that, and I could drive it pretty well just by,
Mhm.
pulling on the front end and steering it, on its edges or whatever. But my very favorite toboggan, I'm not even sure if it could be called a toboggan, it was probably more like a sled. And so you'd lay on your belly, and at the front end, there'd be a wooden bar
Yep.
in the front, and you could grab that, and you could steer it back and forth, and it would turn the rails a little bit because 'cause you're on metal running rails.
Yep. I remember those ones. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, you do, hey?
Yep.
Do you remember what they were called? It was like was it not Red Racer, but it was something I
Something,
forget.
yeah, I don't remember what they're called, but
Snow
I
Flyer
I
or
can
whatever.
like, I can picture it in my
Yeah, I can
head,
picture it.
and it's
Dude,
got, like, the wooden slats
oh,
for you
yeah.
to lay on, and
Oh,
like,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
and
those
and I
were
was a
cool.
lunatic on it. I had a favorite, I had a favorite route that was quite steep and really convoluted, and it was more like a deer track that had overgrown, and so there was parts of it that, like, you had to put your chin on the sled
Mhm.
to not get smashed by branches, and it was all ice because it was so steep, the melt off would turn it into an icy chute. And so, you had to make a decision between, do I have my head decapitated?
Yep,
Or if I hit the bump just as I go under that log, as I
yep.
do every time,
Taking
when the
taking the
toboggan
chin.
smashes my chin, which one should I go for today? Oh, I'm
Yep.
always going to take the chin smash because I like my head.
Yeah,
And so I love that thing, man. It taught me I don't even know how many I've got hundreds of hours, not
yeah.
even hours, days on that toboggan, and it taught me how to think fast, pick lines, react to the conditions, etcetera, etcetera. I learned a lot from that little thing.
It's funny because I think I had a couple of experiences out on the ranch with a sled like that, but I primarily used the crazy carpet. I didn't even use like,
Oh, I
I
had a
just
crazy
like,
carpet as well.
I
Yeah,
was all about speed, and it was just,
they
we
were
had
fun,
this
but I didn't like no precision.
none at all.
0.
It just you're going in a straight line,
That's right.
and, hopefully, you're going in a straight line.
Maybe.
Sometimes other times you just start spinning. Um,
And what
you
about
know
super slider snow skates?
ooh, I haven't seen those in a long time.
I used to have a set of super slider snow skates as well. Yeah.
Dang.
The original the orig.
No, I never had any of those. Unfortunately, the crazy carpets that, they always got me in trouble. So
Yeah.
you know Calgary pretty well. You know Crescent
Oh, yeah.
Heights,
Oh, yeah.
along the ridge line there above, Memorial Trail?
Oh, yeah. It's pretty
I
steep.
That was what I used to take that down and
Right.
regularly.
Right.
Um, and unfortunately, I figured out also that crazy carpets work very well in the summertime on grass,
They do, till you hit a
not
rock.
or dirt.
Yeah, right.
Dirt, you stop. Well, let me
Not not
rephrase.
not
The
right away.
the carpet stops. You don't. And I got a 7-inch scar up my
Oh.
spine on my
Oh,
back
nice.
from,
Nice.
yeah, I went right over top, basically, I was going right down that hill, hit the dirt, went flying head over tea kettle, landed on a pyramid shaped piece of concrete
Oh, nice.
right on my back, and I was like, "Oh, man, that really hurt," and I grabbed my crazy carpet and walked back up to the top of the hill just like, that stings," and then, I was getting
Blood
ready to go down again.
blood lubricates.
Well, I didn't even realize there was blood, and the wind, like, moved my shirt,
Oh, yeah.
and then all of a sudden it got really cool, and then the blood touched my back, and I was like, "That's not right." So I lifted my shirt up, my buddy's like, "Dude."
Dude, I can see your spine.
And so, yeah, I went to the hospital, got, 20 stitches, and
Oh,
the
nice.
the doc was like, "You are you don't even understand how lucky you are, because it goes right across my spine."
Oh, right.
Like,
Yeah.
at
You
at about, like, a
bonehead.
yeah, it was not smart.
How old
I
were you then?
I would have been
At
like
what age were you lacking common sense?
like 14 or 15, something like that. And
Good job.
yeah, it taught me though. It was one of those moments
Well,
where
you
you're
know,
like,
that's the way it is.
don't do that in the summer,
Yeah.
dummy.
Yeah.
But hey, this is the fun things about life, especially with barreling headfirst down hills at extreme speeds with fragile bodies.
I thought it was totally normal, and I still think it is.
It is.
However, there's generations that have been raised that don't consider that to be normal. Their idea of velocity is push the joystick harder rather than push your body harder.
Mm-hmm. And there's something to be said about the toughness that you gain from just like biffing it, just
Oh,
spilling
dude,
hard and
100%.
like explosions of snow
Oh,
and
yeah.
dirt and like, and then somebody just gets up and pats themselves on. Like, oh, are we good? We're everybody good? Okay, let's do it again.
Do you know what I think? The first time that you see blood should not be when you're a 37-year-old man in your office cubicle with a paper cut.
Yes, 100%. My boys, it's kind of funny. Kinley cut himself on my guitar the other day, right?
Oh, that's right. Yeah, yeah.
And,
Little moment there during that. We were actually live.
yeah, we were, and he was freaking out a little bit, and luckily Seb was there, so you guys could continue talking.
That's right.
And I
Yeah,
dealt with
that's
it, right?
right. You actually managed it really well.
Oh well, thank you.
I mean, you made it a non-factor. You know, you bounced, you came back. You're like, it wasn't exactly a big yawn, but you're pretty chill. Good job, Chance Burles.
Yeah, employee of the day. Yes. Yeah. But the funny thing was is that he just kind of like he was freaking out about it, and I was like, it's fine, look. And he's like, but it's bleeding. I'm like, yeah, you have blood in you. And he goes, oh yeah, okay. And then we put a Band-Aid on it, and he was off to the races again. There was no big deal. And just that's part of, if that doesn't happen, I think you're missing out. There's something that you gotta like kind of gotta hurt yourself a little bit.
Turn in your bubble wrap to the CQ.
Yeah.
And go out on an adventure.
And it can be a little adventure. It can be a big adventure. It can be any kind of adventure you want. Just go on an adventure.
Go buy yourself some Super Slider snow skates. Get after it.
If you could find them now, I don't even know.
I don't even know. I don't know.
It'd be pretty tough to find.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Winterstorm says sometimes we just use cardboard.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Those were the days when we
100%.
used to do really crazy things for very.
Hey, you know what? If you were really squared away, if you had done a lot of cardboard racing, eventually you stop flattening down the cardboard and you'd leave it in the shape of a box.
Mm-hmm.
And then you'd try to figure out if you could get that thing going without the carnage that would usually happen. So, you know, a few iterations later, you've kind of got to kick down that leading edge. You've got to round out those sharp corners.
Mm-hmm.
See what you can get away with.
Engineering, man. This is it. This is the basis of all engineering. It's like, how do I do this?
Caveman started.
How do I go faster? That's what I really want. I want to go faster. How do I do that? I think, you know, that's a great point in terms of expand that into your life, right?
Agreed.
If you want to do something, you want to go faster, you want to go harder, you want to go stronger, you want to be smarter, whatever, engineer it. Try and figure it out. Like, where can you round off those hard edges? Where can you find those corners and, you know, touch the edge off of it or something like that? But it's a great analogy for life.
Yeah, you know, and it shouldn't be solved by going immediately to Amazon or the nearby store or whatever. I mean, we're old enough that you just couldn't buy solutions. You had to make solutions.
Yeah.
And usually it was pretty ragged, but you know, we got by. Nowadays there's, I don't know, it's like it's not, maybe there is less critical thinking. I don't know what's going on, but certainly the penchant is to buy a solution way sooner than creating a solution.
It's funny, actually, while we were in Canadian Tire today, this is going to be a whole show on Canadian Tire.
Wow, maybe they'll sponsor you.
Maybe, hey, that'd be nice. They'll only pay me in Canadian Tire money. And
is that still a thing? Are they still handing that out? I don't even know.
Okay. Yeah, but you have to have a card now. And it just collects like points. You don't actually get the cash money anymore.
Oh, right.
But anyways, dude, we were there, and Kinley saw a slingshot
Mm.
that was like carved and it had like a tiger face and it was painted like a tiger. And
Oh, yeah, yeah.
he loves tigers.
Got
And
an Autobot on it, yeah.
yeah, exactly. And he was super excited. And I was like, whoa, I want to buy this. And I'm like, why? He's like, well, because it's cool. I'm like, okay, you'll tell you what. If you really want a slingshot, if you really want one, you and I'll build one.
Oh, for sure.
And then he was like, but I want that one. And I'm like, no, we'll build one and you can carve whatever you want into it and we'll make sure it's got a tiger face and we'll paint it the way you want it to and it'll be yours.
Mhm.
And he goes, okay. And I'm like, so now I want you to be on the lookout. I want you to look for one of those perfect slingshot
Oh,
sticks.
that's nice, yeah.
And now he's going to be looking for one. And it's
Yeah.
going to be a little lesson for him. When he finds one, man, we're going to build a slingshot and it's going to be
Well, the additional layer is, you see that big old tiger slingshot that you want? You and I are gonna make one that's better than that,
mhm.
period.
Yeah. And on top of that, it'll be his.
Oh, yeah.
That'll be his
Dude.
slingshot forever, and he'll be able to pass it on to his kids if he has kids.
100%.
Yeah.
Or, you could have gone the other direction and said, "Yeah, that is a nice tiger slingshot. Tell you what, we'll make one, and when you can hit an apple off the fence post 10 times in a row, we'll go get that slingshot." It'll never
Okay.
happen.
No.
But at least he'll get good with his slingshot.
Yeah. And even if he does get good with a slingshot to the point that he can pull that off, he probably won't want that one because
No.
the other one will be.
And it'll be the last time you see him because he's a circus freak now and he's out making money in Europe.
Ding, 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 ding. Yeah, exactly. Going to every fair and every circus, winning all of the things.
That's right. He's
all
world
right.
famous.
A world famous slingshotter. You know what? Cool.
It all started here.
There you go. On the collective. You all heard it first. Tinley's going to be world famous. And you know what?
He's got his own coffee mug.
There you go. He'd have his own merch line, everything. He's going to have sponsorships from Canadian
Tiger
Tire. So before we go too far down that tangent, let's go to a question from the interwebs here.
Right.
We got a good couple of them. Let me just pull it up. Boom. There we go. Question for the collective. Retired Navy SEAL Eric Greitens said in his book Resilience, which I actually have this book. It's pretty good.
I haven't seen it.
If you aren't failing from time to time, there are two possibilities. One, you're superhuman. Or two, you weren't pushing yourself hard enough. As a father of two younger, driven, and high-achieving daughters, how do I expose them to failing as a natural part of their growth, but do it in a way that pushes them and doesn't halt the desire to excel, as the failures will be larger than normal daily ones? That's a very good question.
That's a great question. I just do what I do. I live my life the way I live my life, and I'm a pretty good example of what failure can look like. More than just from time to time, I'll change that too on a pretty regular basis. And so it's micro failures for sure, but I've had some pretty big failures that I've had to, explain to my boys or demonstrate to my boys. Like if I traveled to, like a world, my last world championship down in 2017 in California. I was putting in a lot of training hours. Each week I was putting in 20 plus hours per week leading up to that on the saddle. So I showed up pretty fit and ready to go, excited to race, stoked. I had some of my athletes down there, or some of the athletes that I worked for, I was down there with them. And it was a good crew, tight crew. We're all ready to crush. And the 2 days before the race started, there was a race course change, and the race basically got turned into a really steep gravel road that just went straight up a big old forestry road.
Yeah.
Super boring, not mountain biking. And I raced on that course for about 7 or 8 hours or something like that, and the course was so like mind-suckingly bad that I just bailed. I DNF'd, or did not finish, as it's called. I just quit. And the reason that I quit, that, kind of a third of the way into the race, is because I knew that if I didn't stop racing on that lap, I may never ride my bike again. I was so done with that course. I took it to the limit of almost hating mountain biking. just to
Oh wow.
try to get through that race. But I couldn't. I had to, well, I could have, but I made a branching decision of, I want to keep riding my bike and enjoying it. I'm going to go this direction, DNF, rather than I'm going to finish this race and do as well as I can. And then that's it for me. I'm done with this sport.
Yeah.
So I had to make a hard decision, and it sucked because I don't like quitting for sure. And I don't like using family resources, time, and money to go down to a world championship in Cali and then quit.
Yeah.
I just, there was a whole pile of things that didn't represent me or didn't represent the way I like to live my life or represent the way I try to represent to my sons. But I had to come back and explain to them that I kind of sucked on that one, and et cetera, et cetera. So, I think that I never would be able to have those conversations with my boys if I didn't push myself hard.
Yeah.
And if my life was in a cubicle every day, day after day, monotony, and then I'm 90 years old and I'm still in a cubicle, I've got nothing to show for it. I've got no mistakes. I've got no resilience. I've got nothing to demonstrate to my boys that you can go mega hard and fail and then go mega hard a few days later and fail and etc. So I think it's important to seek things that you'll fail in. It's just a matter of how badly you're going to fail. And sometimes I like the mega bad failures to kind of be able to talk with my boys about that stuff.
That is a great point. And as you were talking, I had the image of the wipeout that we were just talking about. One of those mega ultimate smash wipeouts that people just kind of stand up from and like, whoa, okay, let's do that again. But when you were a kid growing up in not only England but rural Alberta and then going into the army and stuff, I'm sure you've seen a lot of people take a lot of serious spills.
Oh yeah.
And then get up, dust themselves off.
Oh yeah.
And then just keep walking. And like, okay, well, now we got to do it. I've seen guys get tossed off of horses. I've seen guys getting smashed up on bull riding. I saw a guy get a basal skull fracture off the back of a friggin' bull's head during a bull riding event, like just whack. And he just got up and he was seriously concussed, but he walked himself over the docks. And I think that this is kind of the same sentiment, I should say, in that there are going to be times where you screw up. There's going to be times where you get tossed. The world will toss you, right? Or you will get tossed, or you will not be prepared, or you will not be ready, or you will get to a point where you go, this is just not doable for my future. And you'll have to step away from it. You'll have to either quit, you'll have to move on to something else, you'll have to. We were talking with Mark the other day, right?
Ormrod, yeah.
Yeah, just like, now you got to do something different. Deal. Okay, well, get up, dust yourself off, and show that it's possible. Carry on.
Oh yeah, you gotta.
I think
you gotta. I mean, not only for your kids. I mean, if you've got no kids, it's all the more easy to do it if you've got kids. But if you got no kids, you still got to be right with yourself. It's you can't cave every day. Here's what I to your lead-in point, which was the things that you saw when you were a kid that were accepted as, just dust yourself off and get back on the horse. That's kind of what you were taught. That's kind of what I was taught. It was so when I got into the military, I would have been in my career for quite some time until I bumped into my first hardcore example of manufactured offense, where someone was like artificially manufacturing how fake hurt they were, or how appalled they were with what was in front of them. That fake offense, as if they just lost all of their limbs.
Yeah.
When really nothing had happened at all, other than someone had closed a door too loud or whatever. And so I wasn't used to that. I just wasn't used to people pretending to be heard or pretending to be offended or pretending to be whatever. And by pretending, I mean like sometimes full Hollywood acting.
Oh, yeah.
And then sometimes like 50-50, like they bump their knee and it's a bit sore, but they've turned it into now it's an amputated leg,
Yeah.
but their leg's still attached. And so
Like
these are all
watching a
new
soccer
things
game.
to me. Yeah, like soccer, exactly. When I played soccer, there was no such thing as falling down when a butterfly flies next to you,
Yeah.
but now it's a thing. And so I was raised with the idea that if you're if you fail, it's actually a real failure,
Yeah.
not like sit at home doing nothing, bored and start creating fantasy failures to talk to your neighbor about it. I mean, it's a weird world nowadays. So on that point, with your daughters, I think that the idea being that leadership by example is always the way to go. You live a powerful leadership life for your kids, and they'll follow your lead. They'll see your successes and your failures and learn from both of them.
Yeah, absolutely. And this we were talking about this the other day with the line "Be the change you want to see," and we were saying that we should, or I think I said we should change that to just be the change.
Mm,
And if you want, if you want others to see that it's possible to fail, then you need to put yourself in a position to fail and be seen doing it.
mhm.
And that way, other people will see it. And I think this happens a lot, especially when you start talking about growth. And I mean, you and I talked about this too, where you have the person that's read all the books but has never done any of the work.
That's right.
And it's that same thing where we can just be like, oh, someone needs to, or how can I show someone else, when it should just be put yourself in that position. If you want people to see that you fail, show people failure and
Yeah.
fail. Do
Yeah,
something that you're going to fail
you
in.
know, a couple of days ago, I had they weren't epic wipeouts, but I had a couple of gooders, and I never used to put that stuff up because I didn't want people to think that I got hurt
Mhm.
or whatever. Man, I'm hurting myself all the time. I'm wiping out all the time. I'm failing all the time, but also I'm riding pretty freaking rad all the time as well.
Yeah.
So the limit is on one end, I'm super freaking fast and highly skilled, and then on the other hand, sometimes I'm a complete knucklehead and I'm flying through the air wondering what I'm going to hit. I mean, I try to keep it real nowadays, whereas a couple of years ago, I just didn't think people needed to see the reasonably epic wipeouts that I had because I
Mhm.
didn't want to scare anyone or whatever. I didn't want to convince anyone not to try mountain biking.
Yeah.
So, there's a fine balance between how to put the word out there that you got to push the envelope, you got to push your limits in order to grow, but at the same time, not scare anyone because sometimes the limits have a little bit of, I don't know, a scar on the spine.
Perhaps. Perhaps. I I I love this conversation first off because this is basically what I've been trying to do with social media for the last while. It's like I take video when I'm in a depressive episode. I'll talk about when I'm having a flashback. I will talk about all the things that aren't the most glamorous of positions to be in, because I know other people have been there, and I
Mhm.
know that other people are there, and they need to see not just, hey, I overcame depression, haha, right? That doesn't really help in the moment. What helps in the moment
Actually,
is,
it turns me off,
there you
and
go.
here's why, because when the message is constantly "woe is me," I'm
Hmm.
bouncing. Like, I'm sorry that someone is suffering, and I'm sorry that they're bummed, and I'm sorry that they're depressed, and I'm sorry for a lot of things, but after day 12 of me feeling like, "Oh, bro, I'm actually I'm feeling depressed about how depressed you are." For me, it's too much.
Yeah,
And and that's me, and maybe that seems callous and cold-hearted and lump of coal hard or whatever. But there's a line in the sand for me where I'm just tired of listening to someone talk about the groundhog day of yesterday, which is the same as the day before, which is the same as the day before, where it's all woe is me.
yeah,
I mean, every once in a while, just shoot up a firework,
yeah.
you know, punch something in the throat, do something other than repeatedly complain about how hard your life is. Now, that's different than manufactured offense,
Absolutely.
but it can start.
Oh, yeah.
sort of cascading into it's mission creep.
Mission creep, right? Absolutely. This is I was actually telling Arden this today. Apparently I had a bunch of epiphanies today at, at
Oh,
Canadian
look at you
Tire. Who
go.
knew? Um, I told him we got him on a bike and I was sitting him on it and I was like, how does that feel? Does it feel too tall? Is the seat too big? Like, are there any issues where you're like, I don't feel good? And he wouldn't reach his arm out. And I was like, well, what's going on? He's like, my arm hurts. And I'm like, okay, why does it hurt? And he's like, I don't know. It just kind of hurts. I'm like, okay, reach your arm out. He goes, but it hurts. And I'm like, yeah, you still got to reach your arm out. And I said, buddy, if we didn't do stuff when you were in pain, you would never do anything
Mm-hmm.
at all, ever.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes,
Mm-hmm.
what? And I'm like, I'm in pain all the time. No, I'm broken, but like, I didn't want to use myself as a really great example of that. But things hurt. Sometimes you wake up and your knee is sore. Sometimes you wake up and you didn't sleep well and your neck is sore. Well, okay, you're just gonna not use your neck the whole day because it's
Right.
sore. Like, no, you got stuff to do. You got to get up. You got to manage through that. And I think that's a key point that there's like, yeah, it's gonna hurt. Okay.
Another way that you could have done it is, when he's having his little moment about how all of his arms don't work. you can look at I've done it myself. You can look them in the eye and say, "Oh, that's a drag. Maybe we'll come back to get the bike when all of your arms work. Let's
I
go."
like that. I like that. And just bye-bye.
Bounce.
Yeah. Hit him out of left field with that
and
one
and
too.
then you know what that is? That's them owning their own nonsense. That's them trying to figure out how to work their arms all of a sudden.
Oh, right. I guess I need to.
Oh, look, my arms do work.
Oh,
I do
look at
want a
that.
bike.
Crazy how that happened. We got a couple comments here. Just want to throw this up here. Mitch says, epic spill last fall. Crashed my brand new race bike at Rocky Mountain Motorsports. Back in the saddle on my old Ninja 4 days later. I had to do it again that soon. Carry on. It was possible. Absolutely. I think
old Ninja. I had an old Ninja myself. I bought a Kawasaki Ninja ZX9R. The year that I bought that, it was the fastest production road bike in the world. And the reason that I bought it was I saw a little advertisement where it was beating, I think it was an F-16. So they lined up with each other and it was like go. And the ZX9R beat and I was like, oh, I need that.
Except for the like weight differential, thrust and power. There's a whole bunch of stuff, but it's a great advertisement, right?
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
without
Well, you know
thinking about
what? Once you sit on, that ZX9R, when I sat on it, the thoughts of a jet fighter disappeared out of my mind as I hit the third gear and thought, wow, this thing is fast.
That's part of it too. I had this it's a bit of an interesting story. So I almost got cut in half by a lav barrel.
Oh, yeah.
And that was super fun times when we were doing work up for overseas. And it was a crazy situation. Whole bunch of stuff happened. But basically the inhibitor system that was in the lav malfunctioned. And the barrel swung while I was in the back hatch, and it like, whoosh, and it stopped dead. It pinned me to the air sentry hatch, and like I was almost cut in half, like about here. Either that or it would have just like broken my back completely. And
yeah, you know what?
One or the other.
If you were tougher, it would have bent that barrel.
Right? Yeah. So we the point of the story is that after we stopped and the medic checked me over, and he was like, yeah, no, I mean, you're good. Like, it just pinned you. I think you're all right. And I'm like, okay, cool. And I just put my head right back up that air sentry hatch. And I did that specifically because I was like, if I don't go up there now, I'm never getting back in there. And it's like, nah, I need to do it. Now, I was freaked out the entire time, and I had my eye on that friggin' turret. Like, I wasn't even looking at my arcs at this point. I was just staring at that turret. But as it was an admin move, that was okay, and we were like, not a big deal.
Yeah.
But
right.
And it was in Wainwright as well, so we were like, there wasn't any tactical reason that I needed to be looking out. But we got back to the camp, and I was like, okay. By the time we got home, I was relaxed enough, and I was like, okay. Okay.
Now, on that, did someone break down that incident in the sense of trying to determine the malfunction and corrections and blah blah blah, all that good stuff?
Yeah. Yeah. The malfunction was the gunner fell asleep, and we hit 3 trees with the barrel itself while we were driving like that. Then we cut 3 trees off, and that it put the the gun itself thought it was in an inhibit
Oh,
zone.
calibrated.
And
Mhm.
so when the gunner woke up to the impact of the trees and he hit the palm switch to try and bring the turret forward,
Mm,
it swung to get out of
right.
the
Yeah, yeah,
inhibit
yeah.
zone, and that's where it caught me.
Mm,
And yeah, it was just based on that system alone, but it was the impact that damaged it,
mm.
due to the fact that the gunner was asleep, and
Who was the gunner? An infantry guy, or was he an engineer?
he
What
was an
was that?
engineer.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Did you punch him in the throat or?
No, I did not. He bought me a beer right afterwards, but
Yeah.
it was it was a learning experience. There was some more stuff I think happened, but that was
Mm,
the overall cause that they came up
right,
with,
right.
was that like this. But I took it as a lesson in the fact that, even when things come that close, okay, still got work to do. Like, that's
Yeah, well,
let's get back to work.
I think an even more important lesson is that's on you.
Oh yeah,
And well, it's obviously on the gunner, it's obviously on the malfunction equipment and et cetera, but it's still on you, and it's your job to never let that happen again.
absolutely.
And in fact, it's your job to get in front of the problem and consider what might happen and never let that happen once. And that's just the way life is, man.
That's it. That's 100% it. And it's kind of funny though, because after that, we actually our Lav 25s got removed, and they got sent to, I think our headquarters unit took them, and we got the new E labs, the engineer labs, which don't have the 25 barrel on them. So
Oh,
it was
okay.
just kind of worked out
Well, it's
nicely.
just
But
trying to keep the engineers safe from each other, you know.
right, man. So they came.
Uh,
Yeah,
all of a sudden, 4 months later, you're given
nobody gets it.
cardboard boxes.
It seems about right too for the engineers. But yeah, to not put too fine of a point on that, it really is about same thing we've been talking about this whole time. Just sometimes you just got to keep going, regardless of the situation, regardless how bad it is, regardless how close things happened, whatever you want to get into. There are times where you just have to keep going.
That's right.
That's it. Okay, we got another question here. Should this actually be perfectly for timing here? Let me just throw it up.
See, you're already like 20 minutes in the future, aren't you?
No,
Huh?
I'm right here.
Okay. All
I'm
right. Oh,
good.
I see. Okay, good.
Boom. We got another question.
All right. I just heard you doing
Um,
some math there about how this question is going to work out perfectly for how the podcast is going to complete. I don't know. I just curious if,
I got timings in my head. It's all good.
yeah, you do.
The question is, we often have very different parts of our lives, some dramatic, some boring, some memorable, some not. People will say, that seems like a lifetime ago. Thinking of where your life is now, where did this life for you start and why? What do you
Hmm.
think? You want to jump on that one?
This life, the one that I'm in right now in front of a microphone,
Yeah, I think so.
not too long ago. That started not too long ago. And that is a culmination. What would it be now? About a year and a half ish is when I decided to take this on. So November of previous year and a
Mhm.
half ish. So this new life, this podcasting life, started back then. And why? Well, I've talked about it a little bit, but basically a bunch of my buddies had asked me to jump in front of a microphone and start talking, and I said I don't think I've got anything to say. In fact, I really believe that that was the case, but as it turns out, how wrong was I? But
170
I
podcasts later.
100% wrong. Unbelievable. But I really didn't want this, and I didn't think I had anything to say. But a lot of good people had asked me to do what I'm doing right now, and they'd asked me a lot, and I turned it down for a long, long time. And then probably a formative moment was when Seb Lavoie came into Rossland for a week, and we sat down and recorded a bunch of stuff to maybe do a book, etc. And so over those 25 hours of audio recordings, he was giving me feedback and encouraging and et cetera, et cetera. And somehow Jedi mind tricked me into considering podcasting and et cetera. And so all of the reasons that he hit me with were legit. All of my friends were hitting me with legit reasons. And I've got personal reasons to do it as well. But at the end of the day, why I started then isn't maybe as important as why I do it now. They're all still the same reasons, but I've just got better clarity now that I've been in this game for a little while. And I've talked to enough people who have calibrated me on this path of what I'm doing right now. And so my sense of things is different now than on day one. But generally speaking, it's still the same whys.
Here's a question for you.
Mm.
What about, because this is kind of a continuation of coaching. I mean,
Yeah, it
you're
is.
still kind of coaching people, and let's talk about where that line got drawn in of like, I'm going to be a coach. Where did that whole concept come from?
Are you talking about coaching before I did 15 years of high performance coaching, or are
Yes.
you talking about in front of the microphone?
No, like for
Oh,
coaching in
okay.
like as a whole.
Okay. Yeah. So that started for me in the military.
Mm.
So I, as a senior NCO and a subject matter expert in some things, I had to teach things. And so that's where I started learning to teach. But my style was less hardcore military and a little bit more coachy McCoachy to some degree, just because I was thinking about things beyond the limited scope of a simple structure of a block of information that I had to pass on to someone. I like to pass on the block plus my own thoughts, and so I was already expanding in the military. And then when I left and went to the Ontario Police College, I started doing a little bit of coaching, of course. But when I became a computer system engineer and I was teaching in my class, not only was I a teacher, but I was like, now I was turning into a life coach because, I'd have like a guy, um, maybe 50 years old, just had his first kid. He's super frazzled. He's in my course. He's got mega work hours that he's got to put out. And his name was John. And he'd show up to my class earlier than everyone else in the morning and just sit down and talk, chat, and ask questions about life that, at that point I'd had a pretty robust life and he'd had a pretty normal life, I'll call it. And it's not that we were talking about army stuff or my career per se. He just wanted to hear my thoughts on world travels and some of the things that I'd seen. And so through that process, I started kind of like, I didn't mean to, but I was kind of life coaching him in a sense when I look back on it. And then more and more students would show up early or stay real late at the end of the night to just hang out and just, hey, my kid, or hey, my boyfriend, or hey, my girlfriend, or whatever. And so it's not like I was turning into some sort of gossip column where I solve all of the problems, but I was coaching people in a sort of a life coachy sense. And so that then carried on into et cetera, et cetera. And now I'm owning a coffee shop. And then everyone who shows up in front of my 3 group espresso machine is, hey, how's your morning? And blah, blah, blah. And so, sometimes it was 15 seconds, sometimes it was 5 minutes. But in whatever time I had, I always found a way to connect with someone and have a little moment with them, make something happen, in their mind or in their heart or whatever. And so the coffee shop business taught me how to interact on a really quick basis. If you saw the video that I put up yesterday on my
Yeah.
IG, I was just about to crack off 22 push-ups. The old guy showed up and I'm just having a little convo with him. I don't know who that dude is, but
Yeah.
I can do that with anyone. I think anyone can do that
Yeah.
with enough practice. And I just had a lot of practice. So after the coffee shop, of course, I went into high performance coaching. So for those 15 years, basically I was a race coach, a performance coach, a life coach, a weird old dude. I was just doing it all the time. And as I've said before, those 15 years, I never had a day off. 7 days a week, 52 weeks a year for 15 years, no breaks ever. And so I dealt with a lot of people on a lot of different subjects. And so now I just find that I can enter into nearly any conversation almost instantly. It doesn't mean that I know anything, but I can engage a person in quantum mechanics, even though I only know a shred of information about it. But I'll find a way to learn something from them, and they'll find a way to learn something from me in the process. And it's my job to not facilitate that, but to engage with the person so that I can find a win win. You've heard me say it before. I'm a big
Mhm.
fan of the win win. So I don't know. That's kind of how I came into coaching slash what I do nowadays, I guess.
I really like that in that your entrance into it comes from the fact that you want to help people. And like the style of it has changed over time, right? You want to
Mhm.
make you want to have better soldiers, you want to have more in-depth understanding with your students, you want to be able to connect with people continually through coffee, you want to be able to like each one of those. And then the video from yesterday I thought was awesome, and there were points in time that you could see where that conversation could have ended,
For sure.
right? Multiple spots in between there.
About
And
10 times.
what enabled that on both sides is that you guys both started asking questions
Yeah, for sure.
instead of just expecting to talk. You asked
That's right.
direct questions. Oh, how's that? How's this? How's these things? Oh, blah, blah. It was a great conversation, and it was built by both people.
That's right.
And it's amazing how little it takes to get even a smile from some people. Sometimes I used to when I worked at used to work at Safeway a long, long time ago in the
Oh, yeah.
deli,
Mhm.
and I earned the nickname the Candyman because I would
I
buy a
don't know
bag
if
of
that's good, dude. I hope you've got a better,
oh, I was nicknamed Candyman because I always bought a bag of candy before I started my shift, and I would like a bag of Skittles or something like that, and I would put them in a bowl on uh, on the display,
Oh, nice.
and people would come along and they'd start asking for stuff, and I'd be like, "Oh yeah, you want some candy? Have some." Oh sweet, and have a couple Skittles, and we'd start chatting, and no, 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 and they'd go
Nice.
off on their day. And I found the reason I kept doing it was because there would be customers that were in a crummy mood, and they would be in, and I just need some of this and that, and be like,
All
oh, cool,
right.
yeah, no problem. You want some candy? And every single time they would like, even if they didn't take any, there would be
Right.
just a little smile,
It's
a
a
little
pattern
crack.
interrupt.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And I didn't realize it was pattern interrupt until I always thought people like being asked if they want some candy. It gets a smile on their face, and I was like, okay, cool. And yesterday I was at the store and I bought some stuff with the boys. I was dropping off the packages for you for your new mug,
Oh, nice, buddy.
and the lady at the counter rung our stuff up. There's almost zero interaction, and I don't blame her. Right? It's not easy being in the service field,
No.
but she just took it and was like, "Okay, is this everything?" I'm like, "Yeah." And I looked at her, and she didn't really make eye contact with me. I was like, "How's your day been?" Simple question, and she like kind of perked up, little smile. Oh yeah, it's been kind of slow, and blah, 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 and we started this little interaction. But that's all it takes.
That's all it takes.
One question, two
Mhm.
questions, minor
Actually, no,
interaction.
let me get in front of that. Let me
Okay.
add this, throw this at you, see what you think. I think it begins before then even.
Mm. Yeah, I
Any
think you're right.
ideas?
I
Any
would say
ideas?
the perception, being open to the conversation first off, but understanding of like reading the room kind of deal is what I would say.
Correct. And you're right. And then there's another step in front of that.
In
I've
front of,
already executed it this morning, but let's see if you can get it.
I would say step before reading the room would be
It's a tough one.
want to interact, like the
It's
desire
what did
to,
you say?
wanting to interact.
Oh, you're getting warm, Chance Burles.
The desire to be better, doing my best,
It's really
doing your
good.
best.
I'm going to give you half marks.
Yes, half marks.
Intentionally
Intentionally,
doing it.
I
So
love
this
it.
morning, I've got a suitcase full of coffee that I'm flying to Ottawa. 32
Mhm.
bags of coffee, beautiful Kenyan, and I've actually put 2 bags on the outside pocket. So it's a roll on or it's a carry on that'll go on the plane kind of
Mhm.
thing. But I've put 2 on the outside for quick access because at some point in the flight there, I'll be giving away 2 bags. I don't even know who to yet.
Nice.
In my mind's eye, what I've got visualized is maybe this. At some point, I'll roll up to a counter in the airport, airport counter and talk to a guy or a girl who's going to check my bag or whatever. And if they're cool like Fonzie, if they give me the right look or the right smile or the right nod or the right good morning or whatever, if there's just something right about it, bam, now you've got one of the best Kenyans on the planet. And
Mhm.
so they don't need to know who I am. They don't need to know what kind of coffee I or why or whatever. They just need to have a freaking good cup of coffee tomorrow. So intentionally this morning, I've already predetermined, I've already allocated sometime in the near future that I will be engaging in a conversation that gets someone's head out of the paperwork, look up, and you can say, "How's your day?"
Yeah. I like that a lot. I love the this, and well, I mean, it goes into what we talk about on the collective quite regularly, is having the intention, just the intention to do good or do better or do stronger, faster, whatever you want to do. But that, yeah, you're right. That's where it starts, having that intention. I like that a
Yeah,
lot.
and I think that the intention part is, or the feeling that, let's call it what it is. I'm going to do some good in the world today. I'm going to do something nice today.
Yeah.
I'm going to do something charitable today. I'm
Hmm.
just going to do good. By starting your day off with that idea, whether I like, even if there's if everyone gives me the stink eye on this flight till I land in Ottawa uh, at 0130 hours tomorrow morning, if all along the way everyone's super ignorant and I don't give away a bag of coffee, which is, impossible, that's not going to be the case. But theoretically, if that happened, at least I started my morning off with the right intention of I'm going to go do
Yeah.
good in the world.
Hmm. I like that a lot. That and who knows, maybe the cab driver will get you get
Dude,
a brand new coffee,
straight
right?
up, I figured that might be one of them.
There you go. Maybe the attendant at the hotel when you go
Correct.
to sign in could be the maid the next morning. That is just
100%.
I love that. Then the ooh, we got sorry. There's I just bang shiny. Worry not who knows you. Seek to be worth knowing.
Oh, that's good.
I like that a lot. Thanks, Winter Storm. That was a perfect, perfect to what I was going to say.
I would like
But
to modify that sentence a little
okay.
bit. Worry not who knows you. Seek to be worth knowing, but hope that no one knows you.
Oh, that's a nice little layer on top of that.
Well, that's the way my brain works anyway.
I like that a lot. That's I think I lost one of my overhead lights. Not quite as bright as it used to be. Anyway, got me going on shiny things. We have we got a little bit of time here extra. Not extra, but a little bit more time. Any last points, any last things? There is a comment in here we could talk about. It
Yeah,
might
do it.
take long. Okay.
Bang it.
So, okay. Mitch McLeod says, so continuing on from his last one where he smashed his bike, he
Drop the bike,
also,
gotta blah, blah, blah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, he was also broke his back and arm jumping in Croatia on the jump team. I don't know what the SISM team is. Do you know what the SISM team is?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Anyways, says those were failures in the short term, but were valuable learning lessons. And he says one of the most epic fails recently was being unable to revive someone using CPR and a defibrillator at a recent blind hockey practice. I tried my best, still hurts a lot, hurt most days, but this really impacts 3 weeks later. I try to think what I could have done better and come up blank.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Sounds like you've got it figured out. Now you've just got to let it go. Because if you've already done an after action report, if you've already, let's say you did everything wrong, and in your after action report, you identify all of those things that you did wrong. Okay. Jump in the time machine and go change that. That's right. We don't have them. And so there's nothing that you can do to change that other than this: do better in the future.
Yep.
The after action report will identify how to do it better in the future. And then it's for you in the real time to nod and say, I'll do better next time. Now you've got the luxury of having done an after action report and looked back and thought, I think I did everything as best as I could. I don't know what I could have changed. Congratulations. Now you've got a story where you can illustrate to someone that over the years and the experiences and all of the things that you knew and etc., in that moment, you did your best, and sometimes the best just isn't enough.
Yep.
And that's the way life is. And I know We don't need to like delve on that too much, but the reality is what it is. And that's a hard sentence to hear, but it is the truth.
Yeah.
If you did your best, thank you for doing your best, Mitch. And the past is gone. All
Yeah.
you got is the present and the future in front of you. And if you're carrying those kind of weights, the past, if you're carrying those weights, you're not as good for you or for the future problems in front of you for others to help others. And so all of the dumb things that I did in the past, all of the botched things, all of the mistakes, I've kind of got to let them go in order to be my best now, in order to help my team now and in the future. That's the way
Yeah.
I see it nowadays, anyway.
That's a great point. We've talked about this a couple of times in terms of, when that wave hits you, when you're out in the ocean, in the world, and that wave hits you, how long are you going to sit there and stare at it after it's passed you?
That's right.
You can do that all the time, but then you got your back to the rest of the waves that are coming, and then you're gonna get ambushed at that point because you're not looking, right. Winter Storm adds a great comment on this as a way to finish it off. I think doing anything is better. Period.
Agreed.
Don't quantify your help. Acknowledge you put in work and tried. That's what counts.
Yeah, and you know what else counts, Mitch, is you stepped up, did your best, period. And now it's for you to move forward, but you ripple affected people who were there by people seeing you step up and dealing with the situation in front of you. There'll be people now who have gone home and thought, why didn't I help? Or how come I can't do that? What would I do if that ever happened to my friend? I've got no medical training. I should probably look into CPR training. Your efforts will have changed the world in ways that you don't understand, never will understand, perhaps. And so take satisfaction and pride in the fact that you stepped up, did your best effort, not only in the moment, but in the future, it's helping others.
Yeah. I said this quite a bit over the years, in that it is always better to do good for the sake of doing good because you want to do good. Like it's kind of a benign statement, but that's really what doing good is about. It's not, I don't want to help someone just so that somebody else can pat me on the back. That's not why I want to do it. I want to help someone because I like helping people.
Yeah, I just like to be helpful.
Exactly. I want to be that guy, and I want to be trained so that when the situation does come up, I am ready to step up as Mitch did. And regardless of the outcome, I have the skills needed in that moment. I think that's, the skills are part of it. But there are lots of people who freeze. There are lots of people who don't know what to do. There are lots of people who don't want to get involved. There's a whole nother layer of that, being physically ready, but then actually doing the work. And compressions are hard, man. Like that's a lot of work.
The whole thing is a thing, like it's a scene. And I will always give my nod to someone who steps up. You won't get my nod if you step down.
Exactly. The Winter Storm got a great point here. The effort put in is not made invalid simply because the result wasn't what you wanted. Man, that should be merch right there. I got to put that quote. But it'll be on a shirt, and then it'll just say on the bottom, Winter Storm 47. I like it a lot. That's a great line. So we're almost at an hour. Any final points? Anything creeping on the back of your head while we're almost out of time?
No. Do we have guests tomorrow or no? Do you know?
We do.
Okay.
We do.
All right.
Be,
Sounds good. We'll dial in the precise time for tomorrow, but as it stands right now, you've probably got it locked in at 1100 hours, do you?
I do, yeah.
Okay, good. I'll be able to make that one easily.
Sweet.
I say easily. I might be eating like a beaver tail, and I might be doing full auto mode. I don't know.
You should bring a beaver tail to it. Just sit there and eat it into the mic.
Who knows what'll happen, buddy?
Yeah, we got a good another one of the selection of people that Alan has linked me up with, and
okay, fantastic.
We're pretty excited about that one. We got some good people coming on Friday and Saturday, and
fantastic.
I'm figuring this whole scheduling monster out. It's starting to work. We'll see.
Yeah,
what happens.
and you know what the best part is when someone hits me up with, "Hey, I'd love to be on the show." Cool. Hit up Chance Burrows.
Absolutely. Hit me up. Shoot me a message on the IG. If you look in the comments, it's right at the top there. So you go to @the_collective_IG. Hit me up there. Hit me up at @MasterCore Either way, if you want to be on the show, you got something to talk about. If there's a way you think that we could possibly learn something, perhaps maybe even build and grow as human beings, maybe you could come on the show and help us out do that.
We need help.
We do. Help is
help is on the way.
Help is on the way. All right, everybody. We'll see y'all tomorrow. Chimo.